Ji-woo stood before the Galactic Council, her hands trembling slightly as she held the datapad. The massive chamber stretched above her, filled with representatives from 43 different species. Their eyes, in all shapes and sizes, watched her with expressions ranging from boredom to outright hostility. She had waited 3 years for this moment. 3 years to present her research. And now that it was here, she could feel her confidence wavering. "Honored council members," she began, her voice echoing in the vast space. "I have spent the last decade studying artifacts from over 60 different worlds. These objects share remarkable similarities in design, language patterns, and technological signatures. My research suggests they all originated from a single civilization." A low murmur rippled through the assembly. Ji-woo pressed on, displaying images on the holographic screens around the chamber. Ancient tools, fragments of text, architectural designs, all showing unmistakable connections. "The evidence points to a species that once spanned the galaxy," she continued. "A species that the ancient records call humanity. I believe humans were real, not mythical, and that they—" Laughter erupted from the council seats. Councillor Vextor, a towering Thraxian with scales that gleamed purple under the chamber lights, stood up. His voice boomed across the room. "Not this again," he said, shaking his massive head. "Every few years, some naive researcher comes here with the same tired theory. Humans are not real. They never were. This is a persistent myth, nothing more. A story that primitive cultures told themselves before they achieved space travel." Ji-woo felt her face flush with heat. "But the linguistic evidence is undeniable. The mathematical constants embedded in these artifacts are coincidences," Vextor interrupted. "Or contamination from cross-cultural contact. Young scholar, you are wasting the council's time with fairy tales. There is no scientific basis for believing in a precursor species called humanity. Every reputable xenoarchaeologist agrees on this." Another council member, a floating jellyfish-like being named Corval, pulsed with agreement. "The council has already ruled on this matter. 17 times in the last century. The human myth is dangerous because it distracts from real historical research. It must be stopped." Ji-woo looked desperately toward the observation gallery, where her mentor Dr. Tae-min sat among other academics. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, someone who had guided her research for years. But now he looked away, avoiding her gaze. She knew he privately believed her theories, but he would not risk his reputation to defend her publicly. In the front row of the public seating, her younger sister Hana gave her an encouraging nod. Hana worked as an engineer on commercial starships, and she had taken time off to be here today. Unlike the council, Hana believed every word Ji-woo said. "Please," Ji-woo tried again. "Just examine the evidence with an open mind. These artifacts contain genetic markers, DNA fragments that do not match any known species in the galactic database. If you would just authorize a comprehensive study." Vextor slammed his hand on the podium, and the sharp crack silenced her. "Enough. This council officially declares that research into so-called humanity is a waste of resources. It promotes false history and cultural contamination. Any academic institution that continues such research will lose council funding." He turned his cold eyes directly on Ji-woo. "As for you, scholar, your credentials are hereby suspended pending review. You have 6 months to abandon this foolish quest, or you will be permanently banned from practicing xenoarchaeology anywhere in council space." The words hit Ji-woo like a physical blow. Her credentials suspended. Her life's work dismissed as fantasy. She looked around the chamber, hoping someone would speak up, but saw only closed faces and turned backs. Even the few council members who might have been sympathetic remained silent. The session ended abruptly. Ji-woo gathered her materials with shaking hands as the chamber emptied. Hana rushed down to meet her. "Those arrogant fools," Hana said angrily. "They never intended to," Ji-woo replied quietly. This was just a formality before shutting me down. Dr. Tae-min approached them slowly, his expression troubled. Ji-woo, I am sorry, but perhaps you should consider. Consider what? Ji-woo asked, unable to keep the bitterness from her voice. Giving up? Pretending I never saw what I saw? You taught me to follow the evidence wherever it leads. Tae-min sighed deeply. Sometimes the truth is not enough. Sometimes it takes more than we can give. He glanced around nervously, then lowered his voice. Be careful. The Council does not like people who challenge their official histories. They have silenced researchers before. He walked away before Ji-woo could respond, leaving her standing in the empty chamber with Hana. That evening, Ji-woo sat in her small apartment on the orbital station above Centauri Prime. Her walls were covered with images and notes from her research. Years of work that the Council had just declared worthless. Hana had stayed with her, ordering dinner and trying to cheer her up. But Ji-woo could barely eat. What will you do now? Hana asked gently. I do not know. Ji-woo admitted. Without my credentials, I cannot access archaeological sites. I cannot publish papers. My entire career is over. Her datapad chimed with an incoming message. Ji-woo almost ignored it, assuming it was another colleague distancing themselves from her. But something made her check. The message was anonymous, routed through multiple encryption layers. It contained only a set of spatial coordinates and a brief text. The cradle remembers. Come alone. Tell no one. You have 48 hours before these coordinates self-delete. Ji-woo stared at the screen, her heart beginning to race. The coordinates pointed to an unexplored moon in the Kepler 442 system, far in the outer reaches, where few ships traveled. What is it? Hana asked, seeing her expression change. Ji-woo showed her the message. It could be a trap, she said. Or someone playing a cruel joke. Or, Hana said slowly, it could be someone who knows you are right. Someone who wants to help. They sat in silence for a moment, both understanding what this meant. If Ji-woo went to those coordinates, she would be defying the Council's order. She could lose everything, including her freedom. But if she did not go, she might never know the truth. I have a friend who owes me a favor, Hana said finally. Captain Dae-hyun. He runs a private cargo ship and does not ask too many questions. I can arrange passage. Ji-woo looked at her sister, seeing the determination in her eyes. This could be dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous, Hana replied with a slight smile. Besides, you are my sister. Where you go, I go. Ji-woo felt tears prick her eyes but blinked them away. She looked at the coordinates again, then at the wall covered with her research. The Council had told her humanity never existed, that she was chasing myths and fairy tales, but deep in her heart, she knew they were wrong. Contact your friend, Ji-woo said quietly. Outside her window, the stars glittered in the endless black of space, holding secrets that the galaxy had tried to forget. The cargo ship Wandering Star dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder that ran through its entire frame. Ji-woo gripped her seat as the ship's engines whined down to normal space speeds. Through the viewport, she could see the Kepler 442 system stretching before them, a distant yellow sun with several planets orbiting in lazy circles. We are here, Captain Dae-hyun announced from the pilot's seat. He was a lean man in his mid-30s, with sharp eyes and an easy smile that never quite reached those eyes. Though I still think you two are crazy for coming to the middle of nowhere, chasing coordinates from an anonymous message. Noted, Hana said from the navigation console. She had insisted on coming along, and Ji-woo had been grateful for her presence during the 3-day journey. Subin, can you scan for the moon matching these coordinates? Subin, the ship's AI specialist, worked her controls with practiced efficiency. She was young, barely 20, but Dae-hyun trusted her completely with his ship's systems. Found it. 4th moon of the gas giant. No atmosphere, no signs of life, and definitely no records of anyone ever visiting it before. Perfect place to hide something, Dae-hyun muttered, steering the ship toward the distant moon. As they approached, Ji-woo pressed her face close to the viewport. The moon looked utterly barren. Just gray rock and ancient ice craters stretching across its surface. Nothing special. Nothing that suggested why someone would send her here. Then Subin's instruments began beeping rapidly. Wait. I am picking up something strange. There is a metallic structure beneath the surface. Big. Really big. How did nobody ever detect this before? Maybe nobody ever looked, Hana suggested. Or maybe it was hidden somehow. Dae-hyun set the ship down in a crater near the coordinates. The landing struts crunched into the frozen surface, and everything went still. Ji-woo felt her pulse quicken as she pulled on her environment suit. This was it. Whatever she had been brought here to find, it was just below them. The four of them left the ship through the airlock. The moon's gravity was light, making each step feel bouncy and strange. Ji-woo activated her suit's ground-penetrating scanner and immediately got a return signal. Something massive lay just 30 meters below the surface. How do we get down there? Hana asked. We dig, Dae-hyun said. But Subin was already shaking her head. That would take days. But look there. She pointed to a spot where the crater wall showed a slight discoloration. That looks like a sealed entrance. 5. They made their way over, and Ji-woo ran her gloved hand across the surface. It was not natural rock. It was metal, covered in thousands of years of dust and ice. But definitely manufactured. Her heart began to pound. Help me clear this, she said. And they all began brushing away the accumulated debris. Slowly, a large rectangular panel emerged, covered in symbols that made Ji-woo gasp. What is it? Hana asked. It is the script, Ji-woo breathed. The same writing I found on artifacts across the galaxy. The one the Council says does not exist. The symbols were weathered but readable. Above the panel was an image showing a handprint. Ji-woo pulled out her portable scanner and tried every decryption method she knew, but nothing worked. The panel remained sealed, dark, and unresponsive. Maybe it needs power, Subin suggested. I could try running a cable from the ship, but Ji-woo was staring at the handprint symbol. Something about it called to her. Without really thinking about what she was doing, she placed her gloved hand against the panel. Nothing happened. Worth a try, Dae-hyun said sympathetically. Ji-woo was about to pull away when she noticed a smaller symbol beneath the handprint. It looked like it indicated removing the glove. That made no sense. Touching bare skin to the frozen metal in this vacuum would be extremely painful, maybe dangerous. But she had come this far. Ji-woo pulled off her glove quickly, pressed her bare hand to the panel, and gasped at the burning cold. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. And she was about to pull away when the panel suddenly glowed with soft, blue light. The light ran across her hand, through her palm, scanning something. Her DNA, she realized. It was reading her genetic code. Ancient machinery groaned beneath them. Dust shook loose from the crater walls. The panel slid aside with a hiss of escaping air that had been trapped for thousands of years, revealing a ramp leading down into darkness. How did you do that? Subin whispered in awe. Ji-woo stared at her hand, then at the open entrance. I do not know. They stood at the threshold for a long moment. Dae-hyun broke the silence by switching on his suit's powerful lamp. Well, we came all this way. Might as well see what is inside. The ramp led deep underground, the walls smooth and precisely manufactured. Emergency lighting flickered to life as they descended. Dim after millennia, but still functional. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that took Ji-woo's breath away. It was an archive. Rows upon rows of data storage units stretched into the darkness, organized in careful sections. The walls were covered in the same script Ji-woo had spent years studying. But here, it was everywhere. Perfectly preserved, telling stories she could finally read. This is impossible, Hana breathed. This facility must be thousands of years old. How is anything still working? Advanced technology, Subin said, examining a panel. Really advanced. This is beyond anything the Council has. Ji-woo moved through the archive in a daze, her suit lamp illuminating sections as she passed. There were images on the walls. Pictures of a blue and green planet. Pictures of creatures that walked on two legs, with hair on their heads and complex expressions on their faces. Humans. Real, undeniable humans. Ji-woo, Dae-hyun called from deeper in the facility. You need to see this. She found him standing before a massive chamber sealed behind transparent material. Inside, dozens of cylindrical pods were arranged in neat rows. Most were dark and empty, but one glowed with a faint blue light, showing active status. Stasis chambers, Subin said, reading the controls. Medical stasis. And this one is still occupied. They gathered around the active pod. Through the frosted cover, Ji-woo could make out a figure inside. Human-shaped, though she could not see details. Above the pod, writing in that ancient script, Ji-woo read it slowly, her hands shaking. Emergency Revival Protocol. Last Guardians of Earth. She looked at the others. There is someone alive in there. Someone who has been sleeping for thousands of years. Before anyone could respond, Subin's wrist communicator beeped urgently. Captain, I am getting a message from the ship's automated systems. Multiple vessels just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Military configuration. Dae-hyun cursed. How did they find us? Someone must have been tracking us, Hana said. Or monitoring these coordinates. Ji-woo thought of the Council, of Vex's Tor's warning, of how quickly they had shut down her research. They knew. The Council knew something was here. That is why they were so afraid of my research. We have maybe 48 hours before they arrive, Subin calculated. Less, if they push their engines. Ji-woo looked at the stasis pod. At the figure sleeping inside. At the vast archive surrounding them, filled with the truth the galaxy had tried to forget. They had so little time. But she had to know. She had to understand. She found the pod's control panel and began studying it. The interface was in that ancient language, but she had spent years learning it. Slowly, she began to understand. I can wake them, she said quietly. The pod's systems are still functional, but once I start the revival process, it cannot be stopped. Do it, Hana said immediately. Whatever is happening here, we need answers, and they deserve to wake up. Dae-hyun nodded agreement. We did not come this far to turn back now. Ji-woo took a deep breath and activated the sequence. The pod began to glow brighter, and machinery hummed to life around them. Inside, the figure stirred. Somewhere above them, a fleet of Council warships drew closer, bringing weapons and fire to bury the truth once more. But in the depths of the ancient archive, the last guardian of Earth was waking up. The stasis pod released its seal with a long hiss of escaping gas. The transparent cover lifted slowly, and Ji-woo found herself holding her breath as the figure inside began to move. Fingers twitched first. Then a hand rose to shield eyes from the light. The person sat up carefully, moving like someone who had not used their muscles in a very long time. He was human. Undeniably, perfectly human. His hair was dark and cut short, his face showing signs of middle age with lines around his eyes. He wore a simple gray uniform with symbols Ji-woo recognized from the archive walls. His eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the light, and when he spoke, his voice was rough from disuse. Where am I? He asked in a language that was almost, but not quite, the ancient script Ji-woo had studied. She could understand about half of it. You are safe, Ji-woo said slowly, using words she hoped he would understand. You were in stasis. The man looked around at the four of them in their environment suits, confusion evident on his face. He touched his own chest, feeling the fabric of his uniform, as if checking that he was real. How long? Subin checked the pod's display. According to these readings, approximately 12,000 years. The number clearly meant nothing to him in his disoriented state. He tried to stand, and Dae-hyun moved to help him, but the man waved him off and managed on his own, though his legs shook with the effort. "My name is Kyung-soo," he said, and this time Ji-woo understood him better. His language was shifting, adapting, or perhaps her mind was learning it faster than she thought possible. "I was a scientist. Earth's final days. The archive." He looked around suddenly, awareness flooding his eyes. The archive. Did it survive? Did the data preserve? "It is all here," Ji-woo assured him. "Everything is intact. But we do not have much time. There are ships coming. Hostile ships. They want to destroy this place." Kyung-soo's expression hardened. "Of course they do. The Council. They found out." "You know about the Galactic Council?" Hana asked in surprise. "We knew they would form eventually," Kyung-soo said, moving slowly toward the archive's main terminal. His steps grew steadier with each moment, as his body remembered how to function. "We knew they would bury the truth. That is why we built this place. Why we hid copies of everything humanity ever was." He activated the terminal, and it responded to his touch immediately. Screens filled with data, images, and text. The main display showed an image of a planet. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in beautiful patterns. "Earth," Kyung-soo said quietly. "Humanity's birth world. 300 years before I went into stasis, we knew it was dying. Not from war or disease, but from something worse. Something we could not stop." The image changed, showing the same planet but darker, the colors fading. A cosmic event. A wave of radiation from a supernova. Moving through space. At light speed. We had 500 years of warning, but nowhere to run. Earth was in its path, and nothing we built could shield us from it. "So you left," Ji-woo said. "Not just left, we scattered." Kyung-soo brought up new images. Thousands of ships launching from Earth, heading in every direction. We sent colony ships to every habitable world we could reach. 50,000 ships. 20 million people. Each ship carried genetic samples. Frozen embryos. The seeds of humanity. He turned to face them, his eyes intense. But we knew something else too. We knew that over thousands of years, isolated on different worlds, those colonists would change, adapt, evolve. They would become new species, suited to their new homes. Eventually, they would forget they were ever human. The revelation hung in the air. Ji-woo felt her world tilting. "You are saying the species in the galaxy now, they are all descended from humans?" "Not all," Kyung-soo corrected. "But most. Maybe 60, 70%. We seeded the galaxy with humanity, and you became something more. Something diverse and beautiful and strange. The Council knows this," Dae-hyun said slowly. "That is why they hide it. If people learned they all shared a common ancestor, it would change everything. It would destroy their power structure," Kyung-soo agreed. "Species identity, historic grievances, territorial claims. All of it rests on the idea that each species arose independently. If the truth came out 8,000 years ago when the Council formed, civilization might have collapsed from the shock." He looked at Ji-woo intently. "What species are you?" "I was raised on New Busan," Ji-woo said. "My people call ourselves the Chosen." Kyung-soo accessed the terminal again, pulling up genetic records. "Let me scan you." He held up a device, and Ji-woo stepped forward, letting him wave it over her. Results appeared on the screen, and Kyung-soo smiled sadly. "Your DNA is 97% baseline human. Your colony ship must have landed on a world very similar to Earth. You changed the least. You are, for all practical purposes, human." Ji-woo felt tears prick her eyes. Her entire life, she had been told humanity was a myth. Now she stood in an ancient archive, being told she was one of them. The facility suddenly shook. Dust rained from the ceiling, and alarms began to blare. "They are here," Subin said, checking her communicator. "The fleet is in orbit. They are firing on the surface." "How long do we have?" Hana asked. "Minutes. Maybe an hour if we are lucky." Kyung-soo moved to a different terminal with surprising speed. "Then we do what this archive was built for. We tell the truth to everyone." "What do you mean?" Ji-woo asked. He brought up a new system, showing a massive transmitter buried even deeper beneath the surface. "This is a quantum communications beacon. It can broadcast simultaneously to every settled system in the galaxy. We built it to activate when humans, or their descendants, were ready for the truth. If we use that, the Council will definitely destroy this facility," Dae-hyun warned. "Let them," Kyung-soo said fiercely. "The data will already be out there. Copies spreading across 1 billion devices. They cannot suppress it all." The facility shook again, harder this time. Through the corridors, they could hear the groan of stressed metal. "Wait," a new voice called. They turned to see someone else emerging from the shadows of the archive. Dr. Tae-min, Ji-woo's mentor, still in his formal council robes. "Professor?" Ji-woo said in shock. "How did you get here?" "I followed you," Tae-min admitted. "I have been following the council's suppression activities for decades, documenting everything. I could not speak up in the chamber because I needed to maintain my position, but I never stopped believing." He pulled out a data device. "I have 30 years of evidence. Internal council memos, ordering the destruction of human artifacts, genetic reports they buried, testimonies from scientists who were silenced. If we broadcast this along with your archive data, there will be no denying it." Another explosion, much closer. Subin's communicators squawked with automated warnings from their ship. "We need to decide now," Hana said urgently. Ji-woo looked at Kyung-soo. At this man, who had slept for 12,000 years waiting for this moment. "What happens to you if we activate the beacon? Will you have time to escape?" "What?" Kyung-soo smiled, and it was a smile full of peace. "I have been asleep for longer than your entire civilization has existed. I am old and tired, and I have seen my world die. But if I can give the galaxy its history back, if I can tell them the truth about who they are, that is enough. That is everything." "Then do it," Ji-woo said firmly. Kyung-soo and Tae-min worked together, uploading the data to the beacon. Ji-woo watched the progress bar climb, while the facility shook harder with each passing moment. "Done," Kyung-soo said finally. "Broadcasting now." He pressed the activation button, and deep beneath them, the ancient transmitter powered up. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, billions of devices suddenly received the same transmission. Genetic data, historical records, images of Earth, the truth about humanity, undeniable and complete. "We need to go now," Dae-hyun shouted, grabbing Ji-woo's arm. But Ji-woo pulled free and ran to Kyung-soo. "Come with us, please." He shook his head. "The beacon needs someone to maintain the transmission for as long as possible. Every extra second means more people see the truth. Go. Tell them our story. Tell them humanity lived, and loved, and became them." The ceiling cracked above them. Ji-woo wanted to argue, but Hana pulled her away. They ran through the collapsing corridors, Tae-min and Subin ahead of them, Dae-hyun bringing up the rear. Behind them, Kyung-soo stood at the terminal, his hand on the controls, ensuring the broadcast continued. The last guardian of Earth, fulfilling his final duty, the wandering star launched from the moon's surface, just as the Council's orbital bombardment intensified. Through the rear viewport, Ji-woo watched the crater collapse in a cascade of fire and debris. The ancient archive, humanity's final message to its children, disappeared under tons of shattered rock. But the beacon had done its work. As Dae-hyun pushed the ship's engines to their maximum, trying to escape the system before the Council fleet could intercept them. Subin monitored the galactic communications network. Her face showed growing amazement. "It is everywhere," she breathed. "Every news feed, every public network, every data hub." The transmission replicated itself across the entire galactic network. They cannot shut it down. Ji-woo moved to look over her shoulder at the displays. On 1,000 different worlds, people were seeing the same images. Earth, in its beauty. Human faces, looking back through time. Genetic data showing undeniable connections between modern species and ancient human colonists. The truth that the Council had buried for 8,000 years, now exposed for everyone to see. "Look at the social feeds," Taemin said, his voice filled with wonder. He had shed his council robes and now wore a simple flight suit borrowed from the ship's supplies. People are comparing their genetic records with the human baseline data. They are finding matches. End quote. On screen, Ji-woo saw posts flooding in from across the galaxy. A Thraxian researcher discovering her DNA shared markers with human sequences. A Vexian philosopher finding his species' evolutionary divergence point. A Kelmorian artist seeing human art from Earth and recognizing similar patterns in her own culture's ancient works. The reactions were mixed. Joy at discovering a shared heritage. Anger at being lied to for millennia. Confusion about what it all meant. But mostly, a sense of wonder spreading like wildfire across civilized space. "The Council is going to be furious," Hana said quietly. Her words proved prophetic. Within hours, Council emergency broadcasts began appearing, trying to denounce the transmission as an elaborate hoax. But their denials rang hollow now. The genetic evidence was too strong, the historical records too detailed, the archive's existence too real. Daehyun navigated them to a hidden station in the frontier reaches, a place where Council authority was weak and questions were not asked. They needed time to plan their next move. The ship needed repairs after their narrow escape, and they all needed rest. But rest did not come easily. On the second day at the station, Subin burst into the common room where they had gathered, her face pale. They took Hana. Ji-woo's blood ran cold. "What? Who took her?" "Council security forces. They boarded the ship while she was checking the repairs. They left this." Subin held up a data pad with a message displayed. The words were simple and chilling. "The scholar Ji-woo will report to Council headquarters within 48 hours and publicly retract her claims about humanity. She will state that the transmission was a fabrication created by terrorists. If she complies, her sister will be released unharmed. If she refuses, or if she attempts to contact authorities, there will be consequences." "They cannot do this," Taemin said, his face flushed with anger. "This is kidnapping. This is illegal even under Council law." "The Council is panicking," Daehyun said grimly. "Their entire power structure is collapsing. Riots are breaking out on dozens of worlds. Species who thought they had ancient territorial rights are discovering they are all cousins. The political implications are staggering." Ji-woo felt sick. Her sister, taken because of her research, because she had dared to tell the truth. "I have to go. I have to do what they ask." "No," Taemin said firmly. "If you recant, they will use it to cast doubt on everything. The truth will be questioned. People will not know what to believe. Hana would not want that." "Hana is my sister," Ji-woo shouted. "I cannot just let them." Her communicator buzzed. An incoming call. Source encrypted. She answered it with shaking hands. A young man's face appeared on the screen. He looked nervous but determined. "My name is Young-ho. I work in Council Intelligence. I am watching you right now. So do not try to trace this call." "What do you want?" Ji-woo demanded. "To help," Young-ho said quickly. "I have seen the evidence. The genetic data. The historical records. All of it. My own DNA tests showed a 73% match with human baseline markers. I am one of you. One of us. And I am not the only one in the Council who believes." Then help me get my sister back. I am trying. But there is more you need to know. Counselor Vextor is not just trying to suppress the truth anymore. He is planning something bigger. He has convinced hardline factions that the only way to restore order is to prove the transmission was fake. How can he do that? Taemin asked, leaning into view of the camera. Young-ho's expression darkened. By destroying every remaining piece of evidence. There are other archive sites scattered across the galaxy. 6 more that we know of. Vextor is sending strike teams to destroy them all before anyone else can examine them. Jiwoo felt a spark of hope despite everything. Other archives? With more records? Yes. And one of them supposedly contains something called the Resurrection Project. I do not know what that means. But it is mentioned in the classified council files. With highest security tags. Send me the locations, Jiwoo said. I will. But you need to move fast. The strike teams launch in 12 hours. Young-ho paused. There is one more thing. A counselor named Thexara has been quietly organizing others who want the truth revealed. She might be able to help with your sister. I will try to arrange contact. The call ended abruptly. Moments later, Jiwoo's data pad received an encrypted file with 6 sets of coordinates. We cannot reach all of them in time, Daehyun said, studying the locations. Not in this ship. We would need a fleet. Then we get a fleet. A new voice said. They turned to see someone emerging from the station's docking corridor. She was tall and imposing, with the characteristic ridge patterns of a Valaxian, and she carried herself with military precision. My name is Hyunji, she said. I lead a resistance network that has been operating in secret for 20 years. We are people who believed in humanity when the council called it myth. We protected descendants, preserved artifacts, and waited for this moment. How did you find us? Taemin asked suspiciously. We have been watching Jiwoo for years, Hyunji admitted. When she presented to the council, we knew she was close to the truth. We were the ones who sent the anonymous coordinates that led her to the archive. Jiwoo felt a mix of anger and relief. You could have helped me before the council suspended my credentials. If we had revealed ourselves too early, the council would have crushed us all. We needed undeniable proof. Now we have it. Thanks to you and the guardian Kyung-soo. Hyunji pulled up a holographic display, showing ships distributed across the frontier. I have 40 vessels under my command. Not military grade, but fast and well-armed. If you tell us which archives to save, we can split up and reach them before the council's forces. Jiwoo looked at the coordinates, then at her companions. Daehyun nodded slowly. Subin was already calculating flight times. Taemin looked decades younger, energized by the prospect of action. What about Hana? Jiwoo asked quietly. I will handle the rescue, Hyunji said. I have contacts on Centauri Prime, where your sister is being held. It will be risky, but possible. I am going with you, Jiwoo said immediately. No. Hyunji replied firmly. You are too valuable and too recognizable. The council wants you specifically, but I promise you, I will bring your sister home. It was one of the hardest decisions Jiwoo had ever made. Trust this stranger with her sister's life while she flew off to chase more archives. But she knew, Hyunji was right. The archives held the truth, and the truth had to survive. The Resurrection Project, Jiwoo said finally. We go to that archive first. Whatever it is, the council is most afraid of it. If. We said if AEC, Hyunji smiled. Then that is where we will find the most important truth of all. Within the hour, the resistance fleet was mobilizing. Hyunji's ships split up, each racing toward a different archive location. Daehyun piloted the Wandering Star toward the coordinates marked Resurrection Project. With Jiwoo, Subin, and Taemin aboard. Behind them, on Centauri Prime, Hyunji assembled her team for a rescue that would either save Hana or doom them all. And across the galaxy, billions of people continued to discover their shared heritage, as the truth that had been buried for 8,000 years finally came to light. The second archive was located on a moon, orbiting a red dwarf star, in a system so remote that it had never been properly surveyed. Unlike the first facility, this one was not buried underground. It stood on the surface, a massive structure of metal and composite materials that should have corroded away over 12,000 years but somehow remained pristine. Jiwoo stood before the entrance with Daehyun, Subin, and Taemin, her hand hovering over another biometric panel. She had not heard from Hyunji about Hana, and the worry gnawed at her constantly, but she forced herself to focus on the task at hand. Her palm touched the panel, and once again, the ancient technology recognized her DNA. The doors opened smoothly, revealing corridors that glowed with gentle light. Whatever is powering these facilities, Subin said in awe, it is beyond anything modern science can produce. These power systems have run for 12,000 years, without maintenance. Inside, they found another archive of data, but this one was different. The walls were covered not just with text and images, but with genetic sequences, thousands of them, displayed in intricate patterns that were both scientific and artistic. In the central chamber, they found the answer. It is a genetic library, Taemin said, studying the displays with growing understanding. Every human who ever lived, their complete genetic code preserved here. And more than that, look. He pointed to branching diagrams showing how human DNA had been intentionally modified before the colony ships launched. Different variants, each designed to help their bearers adapt to specific types of worlds. High-gravity worlds, low oxygen atmospheres, extreme temperatures, each variation carefully engineered. They did not just send people out to survive, Jiwoo realized. They sent them out to thrive, to become new species perfectly suited to their new homes. The Resurrection Project was not about bringing humans back to life. It was about ensuring humanity would evolve and spread across the galaxy. An AI interface activated, and a holographic figure appeared. It was female, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Her voice filled the chamber. I am Gaia, she said, the final artificial intelligence created by humanity. I have waited a long time for someone with human DNA to open this facility. You have been active all these years? Subin asked, in amazement. I am humanity's final creation, and its most patient guardian, Gaia replied. My purpose was to preserve the truth and reveal it when the time was right. When humanity's descendants were ready to know their heritage. Are they ready? Jiwoo asked. You tell me, Gaia said. You are the one who opened the first archive. You are the one who broadcast the truth across the galaxy. The chaos that has followed. The political upheaval. The questioning of old certainties. Is that readiness or disaster? Jiwoo thought about everything she had seen. The riots on some worlds. The celebration on others. Species discovering they shared ancestors with their historic enemies. The complete restructuring of galactic politics that had only just begun. It is both, she admitted. But disaster or not, people deserve to know the truth about where they came from. A wise answer, Gaia said approvingly. Then let me show you the rest. The AI pulled up records showing what had happened after the colony ships left Earth. Most had succeeded in establishing settlements. Some had failed, their colonists dying on hostile worlds. But enough had survived to seed 47 different species across the galaxy. The Council knows all this, Gaia continued. Or at least, their founders did. 8,000 years ago, when different species began making contact with each other and forming the first interstellar community, genetic tests showed the truth. They were all cousins. All human. So they hid it, Taemin said bitterly. They believed they were preventing catastrophe, Gaia corrected gently. Imagine learning that your entire species' history, your origin myths, your sense of uniqueness, was all based on forgetting your true past. Some leaders thought the revelation would cause civilization to collapse. So they made a choice to bury the evidence and create the myth that humanity never existed. Except humanity did exist, Jiwoo said. And now everyone knows it. Her communicator suddenly buzzed with an urgent message. It was from Young Ho, the council insider. Jiwoo, turn on the galactic news feeds. Right now. Subin activated her datapad and pulled up the main council news channel. What they saw made Jiwoo's heart skip. Councillor Thexara was standing before the full council assembly, making an address. Behind her stood dozens of other council members. And beside them, a group of armed resistance fighters led by Hyunji. And there, among them, Jiwoo saw her sister, Hana, alive and well. People of the galaxy, Thexara was saying, her voice broadcast across every world. For 8,000 years, this council has lied to you. We told you that humanity was a myth to protect our own power, to prevent the disorder we feared would come from truth. But we were wrong. The truth is this. Most of you carry human DNA. Most of you are descendants of Earth's final children. And it is time we stopped hiding from our shared heritage. The camera panned to show Councillor Vextor and his hardline supporters in restraints, surrounded by security forces. The old council leadership attempted to continue the suppression, Thexara continued. They kidnapped Jiwoo's sister to force her silence. They sent strike teams to destroy the remaining archives. But they have failed. The truth cannot be buried again. I am calling for the dissolution of this council and the formation of a new galactic government, one built on honesty and recognition of our common origin. Young-ho's face appeared in a smaller window on Jiwoo's screen. I leaked the classified files. Everything. Council orders to assassinate researchers, records of destroyed artifacts, genetic reports they buried. It is all public now. Vextor and his faction are finished. Jiwoo felt tears running down her face. Hana was safe. The truth was spreading. Everything they had fought for was happening. There is more, Gaia said quietly. The Resurrection Project has one final component. The AI showed them a star map with a specific location marked. The Sol system. Earth's original coordinates. The planet itself is dead, as you know. But Mars, Earth's neighbor planet, was terraformed before the evacuation. Its archives are the most complete, and Earth's moon was converted into a memorial. If you want to truly understand humanity, you must go there. How long would that take? Daehyun asked. With your current ship, 6 months. But there are faster vessels available now. With the Council in upheaval, their military fleet is confused. Some captains are joining the resistance. Hyunji could provide you with a proper ship. Jiwoo looked at her companions. I have to go. I have to see Earth. We are with you, Taemin said immediately. Subin and Daehyun nodded agreement. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed. The old council dissolved, as Thexara had promised. A new governing body formed, representing species who now acknowledged their shared heritage. Not everyone was happy. Some groups clung to their old identities, refusing to accept the truth. But most welcomed it, finding unity in their common origin. Jiwoo received dozens of offers. Universities wanted her to teach. Governments wanted her advice. Research institutions offered her unlimited resources. But first, she had to complete her pilgrimage. The ship Hyunji provided was sleek and fast, a former council military vessel now crewed by resistance members. Hana joined them, along with Taemin, Subin, and Daehyun. Hyunji came too, bringing several other leaders from different species who wanted to see humanity's birthplace. When they finally entered the Sol system, Jiwoo felt her breath catch. Even from a distance, she could see Earth, a brown and gray sphere where once there had been blue and green. The radiation wave that Kyung-soo had described had scoured the surface, killing everything. But Mars glowed with the faint green of an atmosphere, and Earth's moon showed structures clearly visible from space. They landed on the moon first. The memorial was vast, covering hundreds of square kilometers. Names, billions of names etched into synthetic stone that would last for millions of years. Every human who had ever lived, remembered here. In the center stood a massive holographic projector, still functional after 12,000 years. When Jiwoo activated it with her DNA signature, humanity appeared around them. Millions of recorded faces, smiling, waving, speaking messages to their unknown descendants. "We do not fear the end," one voice said. And Jiwoo recognized it as a recording that must have been played thousands of times in these messages. "We see you, our children, our future. You will forget us, then remember. You will deny us, then embrace us. You will be more than we ever were. This is not extinction. This is transformation. This is evolution. We are humanity, and we are eternal." Jiwoo stood among the images of her ancestors, tears streaming down her face. Around her, representatives from 40 different species, all carrying human DNA, all descended from Earth's final children, stood in silent reverence. On Mars, they found the archives Gaia had promised. Detailed records of human history, from the earliest cave paintings to the final evacuation of Earth. Art, music, literature, science, all preserved in perfect detail. A woman named Jinnah, who had emerged as a leader of the New Human Coalition, advocating for descendant recognition, stood beside Jiwoo in the Martian archive. "What will you do now?" she asked. Jiwoo thought about it. "Teach," she said finally. "The galaxy needs to understand its heritage. We need schools, museums, places where people can learn about humanity and what it became." "The Galactic Heritage Institute," Taemin suggested. "An organization dedicated to studying and preserving the truth. With you as its director," Hana added, smiling at her sister. Years passed. Jiwoo established the institute on New Earth, what had once been called New Busan. Her students came from every corner of the galaxy, dozens of different species learning about their shared ancestors. Hana designed memorial stations around significant human sites. Daehyun ran transport services for heritage pilgrims. Taemin wrote the definitive history of the suppression and revelation, a massive work that became required reading across civilized space. On the anniversary of the first archive's opening, Jiwoo stood before a new monument on New Earth. It was a replica of the biometric panel that had started everything, the one that had recognized her DNA and opened the door to truth. Students and visitors from across the galaxy gathered around her. She placed her hand on the panel, and it activated, projecting holographic images of Earth in its glory days, of humans living, laughing, creating, and ultimately sacrificing themselves so that life could continue. "We never forgot you," Jiwoo said softly, speaking to those ancient ancestors across the gulf of 12,000 years. The stars above New Earth shone brightly, each one representing a world where humanity's children had made new homes. They were not human anymore, not in the way their ancestors had been. They were something new, something diverse and beautiful, but they were also something old. They carried Earth's legacy in every cell of their bodies, in every thought and dream and aspiration. Humanity had not died. It had transformed into a galaxy full of wonders, and in the end, that was the greatest legacy of all.